Well, thank you everybody for taking time out of your day to join us today. My name is John Farrell. I'm the head of the IFS practice here in North America for ProV. What we're going to discuss here and what Bob's going to bring you through is what is the latest and greatest on IFS Cloud Release 23 R2. And we're looking forward to speaking with you. So before we get into it, I'd like to get a little bit of a background of who ProV is. ProV is a IFS global partner. We have 15 years of experience working with IFS. Throughout those 15 years, we have over 700 resources that are globally throughout the world, with over 100 projects that we have done within IFS, from anything from field service management to IFS 7.5 all the way up through the cloud. So things we work on with IFS and how we can help you is in 4 different areas. Number one, it's software development. So we can work with you if you have customized IFS solution and reporting. We can help move those or help create different apps in areas within IFS, as well as reporting and BI. We can work with you around implementation consulting, so upgrading to the cloud, or if you're net new and you haven't used IFS before and you're thinking of going there, we can be that implementation partner as well for you. And we can actually do application enhancements as well. So if you have a solution and you're looking to go down a different module within IFS, or your business process is changing, we can help you with that application enhancement. We have support services, so we use end and mobile user support. For the implementations, we do end user training as well. We provide you with a full training guide, as well as application support after a go live. And then within our managed services, we do application hosting. So if you guys are looking and you currently have a hosting provider that you're not happy with, or if you want to make a change going from on-prem to hosting, we can actually provide a hosting application for you, as well as do 24/7 monitoring in database administration. So the thing about ProV that we love is that, you know, we're big enough to matter, but we're small enough to care. So we have our headquartered here in Tampa, Florida, but we have offices in Brazil, Germany, huge offices in India, in the Philippines, as well as within the Dominican Republic. So whether you're a local US only organization or you're a global organization, we can help meet those needs and have the resources across the globe to meet them for you. That being said, I'm now going to turn the call over to Bob Corrigan. Bob's going to walk you through what is new and what's the latest and greatest on IFS Cloud.
All right. Thanks, John. All right. So welcome everybody to this webcast. And I'm going to talk today about the IFS Cloud release. It's been out now for 3 years. This is actually the 6th release of the IFS Cloud. And I'm going to kind of go through a little bit of the details of what is involved. So some of you that are on, some of the applications 9 or applications 10, you hear the term IFS Cloud. That refers to really 3 things. There's the actual product itself. Those of you that have a familiarity with the IFS applications, you could think of it as applications 11. There is the cloud build place. This is every customer now has complete control of their own environments. So when you license the cloud product, you also get a cloud build place, which is where you actually get the distribution of the software from yourself, and you control it, and who can modify it, who can support it. That's all now in the customer's control. And then cloud services is where you actually run the actual software itself, whether that's in the IFS Azure cloud, or if you're going to run it in your own Azure subscription, or if you're going to run it on AWS or in a hosting center of your choice. Those are things that IFS supports with what we call the remote deployment. But so you hear this word IFS Cloud. Sometimes it refers to the entirety of all of this. I'm going to be talking specifically here about Cloud Build product itself. The IFS product itself, this is the suites of products that are available. These are what we call modules. This is the 23R2 version of it. We added customer survey by completely integrating the customer bill product into the cloud version. and bringing in manufacturing execution systems. Those are some of the new modules that are in the 23R2 list. I also will be talking, and John will talk at the end a little bit about, the upgrade process. We do know we have several customers that are on some of the older versions, and if you're on apps 8, apps 9, or apps 10, you can do an upgrade, a scripted upgrade to the new cloud version, even at the latest release. And you can jump directly to the latest release from any of those versions on the left. Just a little bit about release management numbering. When you hear the word IFS Cloud, as I said, that's the product name. And then there are what we call release updates. They're released twice a year, in the spring and in the fall. If you're familiar with the updates that were on apps 9 and apps 10, it's very, very similar. So in the spring, we had 23R1, and now we just released 23R2, and then it'll continue each year with 2 releases. Service updates are issued monthly, and those are, you'll see them indicated by a dot. So this would be the dot 1 would be the 6th month patch kit to 23R1, R1. And those can be provided for up to 24 months if needed. Just a little graphic that kind of indicates, a little bit of where things are. Apps 9 was released in 2015. It went into restricted support in March of 2023. Apps 10 was released in 2018. We just released the 22 update for that. It continues under standard support through March of 2025. So about 15 months from now, it will go into extended support. And then the cloud version was released in March of 2021. And we just released the 23R2 release here in the end of November. And, there will be 2 each year moving forward. And that's what we'll be watching moving forward. If you're looking at, kind of how many enhancements are being added, you can see in those first 6 updates of the cloud version, we're now at, if you're on the latest version of apps 10, you're about 700 enhancements behind. If you're on apps 9, you're about, 16 or 1700 behind. So, IFS continues to put customer-driven enhancements into the product, and that's what we'll be talking about here in a moment. So first off, how do you find some of this information on your own and dig into the details? All of this information is shared on what's called the IFS community. The IFS community is available to anyone, including, non-customers. However, if you are a customer or a partner, you would need to register with your actual company domain, and then you will be authorized to see, the customer information, and that's what you want to, as a customer or prospective customer, to get involved, to look at what's called the product release notes. So you simply go to resources, go down to product release notes. It'll bring up all these details, and you would want to look at, what's now the 23R2 updates. You can see they also are there for, apps 10, apps 10 global extension, even apps 9, even though apps 9 hasn't been updated now for about 15 months or so. But all that information is contained at the IFS community, and that is community.ifs.com. And in there, you will find a release announcement for the various releases. So you will find the one for the 23R2, and typically that will tell you, information specific about the release. So we're at, 107 enhancements in this specific release. There is this enhancement spreadsheet, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment. And then there are what are known as what's new detailed functional overviews for each release, and I'll also be going into more depth on those. The enhancement spreadsheet has been around for a very long time, since about 2002, somewhere in that range. Excuse me. So it is updated. So right now you can get the latest version of it on the community again. When you do download it, it does have some macros included for ease of navigation. I'll show in a moment. So it isn't a zip file. You just simply unzip it, enable the macro, and then everything in the spreadsheet will work. And as I said, this one, I actually screen snapshot this probably a week ago or so. It is now apps 10 update 22. So that would be the latest version. When you open up the Excel spreadsheet, it is simply an Excel spreadsheet. It has some Visual Basic macros in the front of it here. You pick what your current version is. So if you were on apps 10, update 18, or you're on the end of apps 9, or if you're already on the IFS Cloud release and you're on like 22R1, you just click those buttons. It'll automatically filter the report for you. It's a simple spreadsheet. It'll give you the version. It'll give you the main area, like finance, supply chain, the foundation one. Then there's a functional area, which goes to the next level of detail. So you can use these filter buttons on the top, and you can simply enable and disable. So if you provide this spreadsheet, to your super users in your organization, and maybe, the people in manufacturing want to look at, just what's new in the manufacturing area, or if someone in your supply chain only wants to look at, what's new in inventory management, you can filter it and then look at that information. It'll give you one paragraph. I mean, that's basically all you're going to get in the spreadsheet type format is a paragraph of words, and then the benefits of the enhancements. So the main function that we're going to talk about today is what's new by functional area. So in each particular functional area of the application, there is a what's new presentation. Those what new presentations will actually have screen snapshots, examples, details of what is new in the actual release. So in this case here, I'm looking at the e-invoice processing type. Now we'll support what's called continuous transaction control. And those are mandated in certain parts of the world's legislative requirements that are in some of the countries. And you can see, we've added optional posting authorization for supplier invoices. We've added that e-invoice processing type. We've added cash planning at the node level. We've added general ledger analysis model, and we've changed the way you can do the X-rate measurements. They've been redesigned so they give you better, summary and ability to dive down on the actual general ledger. Automated customer payment prediction. This is one of our machine learning functions that we're providing. It's new in the 23R2 version, and it will help you to predict when you're going to receive customer payments using artificial intelligence and machine learning. We continue to work quite a bit with offshore operations. So being able to replicate, financial transaction information from an offshore, possibly with an intermittent internet connection, to be able to connect that back to an onshore data center that, or database instance that then allows you to have, one view of what's going on, no matter how many offshore operations you're attempting to coordinate. As we have larger and larger customers around the world, sometimes audit files get very, very large. So the ability to support those very large audit files is now included. And we've made some continuous changes to, the payment formats that are required in certain nations around the world. You can find the actual detailed version of that, again, on IFS Community. Community, as I said, is free for everybody. Just make sure you use your company domain, and then you'll get authorized as a customer. And it shows that this particular one for the finance area has 50 slides in it, and it would show screen snapshots similar to this and would have descriptions of what's included. When we move to manufacturing, in the 23R2 version, we continue to look at the remanufacturing capability, and we've added a lot of remanufacturing capabilities to the shop order. So you can see here on this little graphic on the right, the manufacturing structures for and routings, primary and alternate components, direct supply. These are typically for people that are going to bring in a product and then remanufacture it, meaning, they tear it down. They may have to replace and remanufacture some of the pieces within it, then reassemble it and, be able to have that available then for sales again, or just if you're doing it on a pure repair process, if you're using core repairs and things like that, that is all included in this release, as well as all the costing that's associated with that. So you can determine, if you're going to have a a remanufactured cost for a product, you would be able to have that set up. Smart Manufacturing Planning Board was introduced in 23R1. It takes the place of like constraint-based scheduler and the advanced planning board. It's now called the Smart Manufacturing Planning Board. It does include the artificial intelligence engines that we've been using for scheduling on the services side for quite some time, and now applying it to the Smart Manufacturing Planning Board. In this particular release, we're including the ability to look at planning by operation and resources. So you can start to look, you can see on this particular screen snapshot on the right a little bit about, some of the different things that you can look at, whether you're looking at infinite scheduled orders or, which ones are tardy. And it's visualized on this board. It's a little crowded here on this small screen, but when you open up the presentation, you'll see much better views of what that looks like. In addition to that, we've now started to take into account your human resource shift scheduling. So if you have people that are, in and out of shifts or away on absences, vacations, holidays, things like that, those will now show and will affect, what your finite schedule will look like. It also takes into account capacity calculations. So you can take a look at, the capable to promise types of calculations are taking into account now for that finite scheduling. We have continued to look at how we integrate with certain manufacturing execution systems, depending on where you are. If you're making components, space components, it was NASA, and now there's several private entities that are involved in that. There are certain approved manufacturing execution systems, so we continue to build integrations with those very tightly to the shop order operations within IFS. In quality management, there is, again, we continue to expand quality management based on feedback and demand from customers based on specific industries. So being able to do inspection based on, the operation quantity, within a shop order, postpone shop order inspections, as well as some enhanced analysis result reporting that might be needed for, certain certificates of that you might have to provide with material that you're producing and shipping. We've enhanced the change management capabilities within the configure order functionality. And then, as we continue to integrate some of our complex complex maintenance, repair, and overhaul, some of the areas there we're doing, because we do a lot of aircraft maintenance, so we have the ability to do what's called the ship dirty improvements, which is an industry specific term. And then automatic disassembly improvements are included in this version. Serial creation and receipt improvements, and then the input unit of measure for shop floor reporting, we've enhanced that also. Again, there is a detailed presentation. This one has 133 slides, available on the IFS community, and I'll show you what one of those looks like here if we have time. In supply chain, supply chain is an area that IFS not only, the industry around the world is continuing to change. And, we continue to do a lot of very deep functionality. So in the warehousing area, the ability to handle customer returns, using the standard receipt process when you're on the warehouse data collection screens, gives you that capability. A configurable list of values, for the item descriptions. And you can kind of see some of the different things that are being handled here around package management and handling unit consumption. So just to simplify, how you're actually able to use handling units were actually introduced in apps 10 and continue to be expanded throughout the cloud releases. And a lot of things around are they reusable containers and packaging? Are they returnable? All of those types of things are fully supported. In the sales area, print the customer invoice, copy in your base currency. Maybe you want to do that instead of in the customer's currency. Customer's export declaration number is included so that you have that for your tax transaction details that are required in various jurisdictions around the world. Customer consignment, if you have customer consignment, you want to do stock adjustments. Those are included in the 23R2 release. wanted delivery date and priority on supply site for a customer order, where you want that product delivered from as you get into more and more multi-tier distribution mechanisms that you might be using. Configured parts included in your package part definition. So those of you that are using package parts, to be able to not only have a package part, but then inside that package part have configured parts is now supported in 23R2. Consolidation of the rental invoice lines, excluding certain serial information, was requested by customers. So those things have been added in this release. Packing for package part components in a shipment is included. Pick by choice when you're very low on stock. How are you going to actually handle that? Because there are a lot of things with fair share reservations. And then if you're going to do that pick by choice function, how you deal with that when you're in a low stock environment. Supplier evaluation and rating templates. You see a little bit of an indication here on the right, the different evaluation templates when you're rating your suppliers and doing the evaluations for, the different types of evaluations that you're doing, on-time delivery, defects delivered, cost variance, all those types of things are in these templates and allow you to easily rate your suppliers. Contract management, adding material surcharges and how you're handling those surcharges and how that affects price elements is included in this release. And then in the strategic procurement planning, being able to do continued categorization of your suppliers, particularly when you get into what we call strategic procurement planning, which was introduced in earlier releases of the cloud version. Again, there's a detailed presentation. That one has 202 slides in it. As you can see, we have quite a bit of functionality that's always added in the supply chain area because it covers such a broad section of the application. Next, we go into service management. Service management, IFS continues to, be number one in the service world, and we continue to expand our functionality to support that. So we've done some changes for request management that was based on customer feedback, how we handle service notes and, where they're printable and, all those types of things that come into effect there. A lot of capabilities to set up event management and integrate it with the remote side of the application. Service level agreement management and, how you utilize that. And then resource management, there's a lot of improvements that continue to be done with resources and crews as we deal more and more in utilities and some of the types of industries, where crews are very, very common. So being able to, do all the work that's needed and that is included. Availability patterns, location enhancements, reoccurring service enhancements. So, for reoccurring service requests, you can see here the reoccurring service program, like your routine inspections, how those are handled is greatly enhanced in this release. Appointment booking templates and how they're affected by utilization rules that you're going to set. In the dispatch console, we continue to always work on trying to make the dispatch console as effective as possible for your dispatchers and managers, to be able to visualize and see exactly what's going on in the organization, where are your resources, where is your service demand coming from, and then all of the automated scheduling that goes along with that, where we get into these. Now we can do scheduling with task splitting. We can interrupt tasks. We have enhanced location support for, not for geocoded types of locations. So you'll see quite a bit of geocoding quality enhancements. And then scheduling unavailability directly from the scheduling workbench. And then this whole thing around how you deal with crews and how you deal with skills have been significantly enhanced. So you can see the detailed one for service management's 347 slides. I'm just basically touching the surface on some of these things. Much, much more detail is available in that detailed presentation. Asset management is a little bit different than service management. These are typically assets such as we do, obviously quite a bit of aircraft maintenance work, whether it's fixed wing or rotary. So we have continued to do a bunch of airframe changes, extending the maintenance codes and the descriptions that are available. Again, there's quite a bit of crew work that gets done in aircraft maintenance. So dealing with that for resource management, work planning, transacting work. These also come into effect if you're going to use asset management during an overhaul operation in your plant. Those are the types of things where crews come into play quite often. Again, event management, so work order, event logging, so you can keep track of, how they were created and manage that. As I said, geocoding is continued not only in service management, but in asset management for those that are out doing maintenance of, power distribution lines or sewer and water lines, gas lines, things like that. Document management enhancements, you'll see some of the little graphic up here, better integration or fuller integration with, the different Microsoft product tools and, how you deal with that when you're doing them in email. So quite a few enhancements in that area. Enhanced e-signature integration, some task bundling, and then some mobility, how you handle task and how you bundle task. Again, here's the details. There's 108 slides in that particular section. When you get into human capital management, this is an area that we do a fair amount of work on this. In North America, it's not as prevalent as it is in Europe and the rest of the world. But we do enhancements related to salary review, some template authorizations, common currency views. If you have people spread around with multiple payroll currencies, you can look at a common currency view of those things now. Enable group view when you're doing salary reviews for approval. You can maintain and update your employee movements, particularly some people that can work remote now. They are pretty free to move around. Sometimes it gets a little hard to keep track of maybe even where your employees are. So this is to help facilitate that. And enhance salary review approval assistant that's built into the application. We continue to improve what we call the user experience to make it easier for people to change, their bank information and to be able to maintain their employee file using self-service. So those continue to be improved, expanded on, made easier. Enhancements to absence request, vacation request, tracking partial returns to work, in various parts of the world, and even, in most of North America, there are, partial return to work if you have weight restrictions or you have hourly restrictions, being able to keep track of all of those things. And then enhanced headcount planning, related to headcount plans and job information. And again, that one has 131 slides on it. So you can, again, look at the details if you're interested in that particular area. In the CRM area, the biggest change in this particular release is on the business opportunity to include what's called guided selling. So again, this is, you have wheels, you have tires that go on the wheels, and you have service to mount those tires on the wheels. Excuse me. So those would be in that guided selling capability. So that's one of the major changes in this particular release, is to make it much easier in the business opportunity to invoke guided selling. So if you have less experienced people, or even providing it to your customers, you have that ability to do, you guide them through that selling process. We've also, in the account management, increased how duplicate checking takes place, as well as the ability to merge accounts. This is when you're bringing in lists, and you want to make sure that you're verifying duplicate as many ways as you possibly can: company name, address, phone numbers, emails, and then the ability to merge things together so you don't have a lot of extraneous information in your CRM system. We continue to improve what's called the CRM panel. This is what's integrated into Microsoft Outlook, and those are really to improve how it looks and how it compares with some of the new Office 365 type of look and feel that's been invoked by Microsoft. And continued advanced analytics. If you're interested in that area, there's only 39 slides there. Most of them are around, because duplicate checking and merge accounts don't have a lot to say, but you can also download that one. In the projects area, most of the enhancements in this particular one are in the budget and forecast area. A lot of improvements in what's called earned at estimate at completion to the workbench. You can see some of the things, some of the flags that have been added. When you look at the detailed slides, you'll see a lot more of what was included there. And then in contract management, subcontract valuation, cash flow, and in financial control, this whole schedule of work. So you can see here, I have a schedule of work that's indicated, and those are the types of things that have been added in. Again, this is in the financial control area. And in projects, if you're interested in that area, there's 64 slides, and you can take a look at those also on that community detailed slide. In user experience, there's been several changes. Again, these are requests that have come, in over the whole release cycle of Cloud. A lot of it was around keyboard and, how can you use the keyboard more, similar to the way it worked in some of the prior versions. And so now we've added back navigation for, Kanban boards, list, Gantt charts and maps. You can now import individual application configuration package items. Instead of having to bring in the whole ACP, you can bring in individual items. Alternate key functionality has been added for any custom attributes that you add. You can see here's a little indicator of that on the upper right. We've added a session timeout for the client, as well as keyboard operable searches. So you can now do search, with keyboards. You don't really have to touch that mouse all the time. Keyboard accessible lobby elements, and then several enhancements in the way you can configure and lay out all the mobile apps. That you can see is in the first 40 slides. When I put this together, I combined experience and platform, but I thought user experience, it's the first 40 slides of that presentation. The next 41 to 194 are in what's called platform. So we've added this identity and asset or manager page filtering. We've certified Windows Server 22, Microsoft Windows 2022 has been certified. We've done quite a bit of work in the environmental, social, and governance, ESG lobbies, and adding those in. I have a few here, ESG Central, energy. Different parts of the world have different regulations that are coming into effect, and we're ready for those when they hit, no matter what legislation you might have to meet. We've added some advanced analytics with Power BI directly into the lobbies. We've added a new machine learning architecture. Here it shows, if you're interested in that, there's quite a bit more detail in the detailed slides about how we're training our machine learning and how we're making that understandable, explainable, all of those types of things, as more and more of these AI regulations will ultimately kick in. Scheduling workbench enhancements, especially on how we can import shift data. And then if you just look at scheduling enhancements, looking at electric vehicles, where's the nearest charging station, how much life do they have left on their battery packs, running parallel resources, do shift capacity rules. Those are all added in the scheduling enhancements. Some additional improved trace logs for the OData providers, some things there that have been added. And if you're using the data migration tools that come with the cloud platform, we continue to expand that particular tool, validating upper lower case conditions and allowing concatenation if it's a mapped column, with characters in between. And again, you can see the details there on that same presentation with those slide deck area. For those of you that are on, apps 9 or apps 10, and you want to look at all of what's new, what I just talked about was what was new in 23R2. So there's 5 previous releases, and some of those, if you look for them, like the 21R1, 21R2, because we really have no customers running those versions, they've continued to use the Evergreen, and they've upgraded to 22R1 or 22R2 or 23R1. So I have created this document. Again, it's available on community, and it'll give you a link to every one of the what's new presentations all the way back to the 21R1 release. So if you're interested in the finance area or supply chain manufacturing projects, you can actually just with this one document, quickly hit the link and go directly to those pages. The other thing I want to mention is the IFS Cloud. The IFS Academy provides quite a few free training sessions on the IFS Cloud. So everyone can get an IFS Academy account, and you can participate in all the free training, the zero cost training. So you just want to go ahead and sign up. You need to know your company name and your company ID number, which typically whoever works with IFS within your organization will know that number. And then you go in, you click on the learning catalog, and then you can open up the IFS Cloud. So you'll select IFS Cloud, and it'll bring you into the details around cloud. So here you can see I'm looking in the self-paced e-learning environment area. There's 213 sessions. You just simply look at these sessions and say, okay, they're $0. So you just go ahead and you can start them and run them. So you can see, and they go back, a couple of versions. You'll see the 23R2 are there now, 23R1 to 22R2, and they'll go into a little bit more detail. Like here, you can look at, well, I think I clicked this one. You find a course, you click that, it'll automatically enroll you. So if I wanted to just look at, what is visual planning and scheduling changes? What are the new shipment management functionality that's been added? What's new in sales orders related to features? So you'll see these sessions, and in this case, I'm just going to say, okay, I want to enroll in this one on sales order for supply chain management. It'll open up, and you can see there's quite a few areas in sales order that have been added into this particular session. So you can actually look at, customer return using receipts, using the RMA processes. Goes through the different, you can look at the course material. You can run a knowledge check where you can, make sure you understood what was going on. And then, that's kind of like a self diagnose or a self check. It asks you some questions, and, whether or not you actually paid attention to the sessions before. And then you can see, then you can continue on to, create customer order detail statistics or flexible schedule line type for a customer. And you just keep going down until you complete that particular course. So those courses are all available on the IFS Academy. And another thing, I mentioned that every customer gets what's called a cloud build place. That build place is where you actually do all of your installations from. You do all of that control yourself. IFS updates the master repository, and then you as the customer, or if you're using IFS services or you're using one of our partner services like ProV, they can actually do these functions for you. But that's where you apply the service updates, the release updates, and you do everything to get ready to then move it to what's called where you're going to use it, your use place. And then that's where you typically have your config, test, and prod environments. And those can, be, like I said, either in IFS's cloud services or in a partner's cloud services, or in your own Azure environment or AWS, whatever you prefer. So one of the questions that I know we get asked is, if I could upgrade quickly and cost effectively with minimum disruption to my business, I'd start today. So how can I be confident that now is the right time? And with that, I'm going to kind of turn it back over to John. He'll talk a little bit about, how ProV does the IFS upgrade methodology.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. And as you can see, ProV, we follow exactly the same methodology that IFS does. So we will start, with an upgrade readiness assessment, looking at your pre-study and planning, and looking at what you're currently using, how you're currently using it, what are your business processes you currently are using today, what are the integrations you have, what are the number of reports, number of instances, locations, things such as that. So we can then start to plan your upgrade solution. And when we start to do the upgrade, we bring in with the upgrade solution, we go to a rehearsal and then a go live. So this is the same exact methodology that IFS would actually do with you as well if you went directly with IFS. The readiness assessment, again, it's we do a discovery first, so it's a full-on discovery, deep dive of your business and what you do. We then go into what a custom discovery workshop, so meeting with you on site, seeing everything, how it works, where it works, getting into the system within itself to truly understand what reports you built, where the customizations are, what your data look like, where's your data, things like that. And then we do an analysis and define that upgrade project and how it will work and where it will go from all those discoveries. So that being said, Bob and I thank you guys very much for coming today and spending your time on this webinar. There were a couple of questions I saw in the chat. I'm not sure if they were answered or not, but
we can just verify. We got a few minutes here. I mean,
yeah.
Are there any functional differences in each of the apps 10 versus cloud? And that hopefully I answered that. You can download the spreadsheet, and then that one document I said you could actually look at all the functional differences from applications 10 to the current cloud release 23R2. Now it's thousands of slides. But if you split it up in your organization and you have somebody that's handling manufacturing, finance, supply chain, it becomes more practical and doable, because really the goal is to figure out what are the things that are going to improve your business operations from the new functionality that is in the cloud release. But yes, there is things that show the differences all the way from 10 to the current cloud. And then a practical use case for remanufacturing shop orders, typically if you're using what's called a core. So if you had, you're bringing in a transmission, or you're bringing in an engine, or you're bringing in an electric motor, typically those are the types of things that, you can actually remanufacture a large model of the components. All you have to typically do is replace some bearings and maybe some worn components. So that would be a real practical area where you would use that remanufacturing shop order to do the tear down, and then you can order new sub assemblies or components, and then build it back up into a remanufactured item. So that's and you'll see that in the details. You'll see a lot more of that information. The enhancements to the absent management, the provisioning using AI. Yes, there's a lot of things that are being done related to what is currently the hot item, artificial intelligence, particularly conversational. Looking at what can be done to let people talk to the software and have it understand what they're saying. It doesn't have to be as structured as open my customer record, Robert Corrigan, badge number. It'll actually, you could say, okay, I need to change my phone number on my cell. Open up my record, and it would interpret that information. So you're going to see some of that in the upcoming years. And let's see, I think that might be all the questions there were, John.
I think that's it as well.
Yep.
So again, thank you everybody for joining. You can see my contact info on the screen. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, if you're interested in talking further about how to work with ProV with your upgrades or your current installment and how we can help you support it. Again, thank you again, and we'll be in touch soon.